we want this to be, I'm trying to follow what would basically be a grid, right? So like this line would basically be parallel to that one. That would be the same camera plane based on our geometry and based on our perspective here. So something like right about there would be decent lighting for our subject. So she's side lit here. Okay, so that's about where we want to put her. Maybe right about there. Let's just say this is kind of important. You'll see why in just a second, why we want to figure out where we're going to put her. All right, let's just say we want her feet, they're under her dress, but we want her feet to be right about there. And that totally works for me. Okay, so her feet are going to be there. That's all we need to know for now, because we're going to do something else really cool in just a second. Okay, now we're going to figure out how big she needs to be. And to do this, we're going to use a vanishing point filter, and it's down here. But I'm going to show you guys I'll explain what I'm about to do, and then I think you'll be able to kind of follow along better when we actually do it. So because I created a duplicate, I'm just going to create another duplicate of this layer. It's better be overcautious, and I'm in kind of a cautious mood right now because this is hard what we're doing. It really is. I'm going to right click on this layer and just say apply layer mask. And that's just going to get rid of the layer mask. So now we just have this layer. Okay. I'm going to command click on this, and that's going to turn this layer into a selection. So command clicking, and I'm going to hit command C to copy it. You can also go to edit and down to copy. Okay. And now we're going to make this invisible and then deselect. So all I did was basically copy this, and now it's on my clipboard. So your clipboard's just something in your computer that stores things temporarily. Okay, why are we doing all that stuff? So we copied our model, and now we need to figure out where she's going to be. Here's why we're doing all that. Let's go ahead and make a duplicate of our background layer. And we know where she's going to be standing, and she's on our clipboard. Those two things are important. We're going to build this entire scene. We're going to build it in a virtual environment, and then we're going to use that virtual environment to translate her throughout three-dimensional space and figure out her sizing through that virtual environment. And I know that sounds incredibly complex, but I'm going to make it very easy for you guys, so don't worry about it. Okay, so click on your background layer. Just remember, she has to be in your clipboard, so make sure you've selected that and hit Command C. Okay, we're going to click on our background copy layer now, and this has I actually want this little dot to be visible in my background copy, so I'm going to click on the two of these, shift click the two of those, and hit Command E, and that's going to merge them together. E is in elephant. Okay, let's go ahead and go to filter, and I'm going to go down to vanishing point. Okay, and you can see what it did. Let's just full screen that. It loads my there we go. It loads my layer that I had selected into the vanishing point filter. And if you guys have never used this filter before, don't feel bad, because I almost never use it either. But I discovered an amazing use for it tonight, and I'm going to share it with you guys, because that's how we roll. Okay, what we're going to do here is that we're going to start off by this guy, this create plane tool. And it says what to tell you what to do. Click the four corners of perspective plane. And it's pretty cool. So let's start clicking some corners of our perspective plane. And don't worry if you don't get it incredibly right the first time. So we're going to start off here. Basically, you want to use geometry. If you have any geometry in your image, perfect. If you don't, then you could use even like trees. Like if there's a tree close to you and a tree far away and you think they're about the same size, you could use that. Like just get creative with it. And in this one, we do have some geometry. It's not incredibly apparent, but we do have some. So let's click on, there we go. I'm seeing what we have over here and some repeating shapes over there. So we're going to try to duplicate that. So let's click over there, and I'm going to drag down. Notice I'm not going straight down. That doesn't make sense. If I go straight down, it's going to try to load in the wrong perspective. I have to go at an angle, because this goes at an angle, just like that. All right, and we're going to click down here to the floor. So click there, and then we're going to bring this all the way back there, and click there, and up to there. Okay. Now, this basically creates a wall in space, which is cool. So all I did was click the 4 times. Now, once you have your wall, you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can make it taller, you can make it shorter, and this is your time you can stretch it out to your vanishing point. Remember we talked about a horizon earlier? That's basically where this is going, to our vanishing point. This is your time when you want to check your perspective with as much as you possibly can. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, if this building was built straight anyway, taking this up, like, is this line here, is it going to match up with this perspective here? And it looks pretty good. So we'll just say, yeah, sure, it matches up. All right, this is when you want to just kind of check as much as you possibly can to make sure this is right. Because if you get this wrong, the entire reason for doing this goes away. Okay, so that looks okay. Now, another check we can do is we're going to check it on this plane here. See how I have this line? Well, this line goes back to the same horizon, right? I mean, it disappears. It's co-planar. No, it's not co-planar. I don't know. It's parallel. Sorry, it's parallel. Like this line on the floor and this line here. If you looked at like a floor plan of this from above, they would be parallel lines. They're not because it's perspective, but so they go to the same vanishing point. Here we go. All we have to do, you can either hit this guy again, or I'm going to hit Command instead. And holding down Command, it's going to change my cursor to the little grid of 4. Okay, so hold down Command, and I'm going to click here and drag out. There we go, and that's going to create a floor plane. Now, your floor plane, again, you want this. Can you see how it's starting to go in there, just like that? And the reason it's doing that is because it's calculating my perspective. And if I do, if I've calculated my perspective correctly, it will, in fact, look. Let's just zoom in, and I can use my hand and stuff like that. If I calculate my perspective correctly, this line on the wall will be perfect. And it's not. It's not exactly perfect, and it's okay because none of us are perfect, right? But we can correct this. So I'm going to just grab this corner, and I'm going to start moving this to the right. And now notice when I move this to the right, there we go. It kind of moves everything, right? All right, it's letting me move it up and down. I want to go to the right. Let's see if I can bring this in. All right, there we go. Now it's letting me go to the right. So it's kind of moving everything. And the reason it's doing that is because it's changing my perspective of my entire image at the same time. All right, and it seems to be snapping. I don't really want it to be snapping, but it's doing it anyway. All right, bring this in. Maybe I have to zoom in a bit more. I don't know. I just started using this tonight, guys. All right. Well, this is a lesson for getting it right the first time, huh? Only if you get it right. You know what I wanted to do? I'm going to hit delete on it, and we're just going to do it again because I don't know what it was doing there. It's supposed to let you change this subtly, go into the left and the right and stuff like that. All right, let's just try this back one. Maybe it'll be more cooperative. All right. It seems to be doing a little bit better. There we go. And as I move this around, I'm bringing it back to the wall each time. There we go. And we'll just stretch this out a little bit back. And you can see it's back on our wall. And this action that I'm taking is it's changing this left wall as well. It's correcting the perspective of this as I correct this perspective of the floor plane, which is very, very cool. And you should be able to do the same thing with the ceiling. Like if you wanted to hit Command and click on the ceiling and click this guy over here, you should be able to bring this back over here, and where it hits this wall, bonk, that's the exact same height. So right here is the same height as this wall is over there, which is very, very cool. So we're basically building in perspective and using it to calculate whatever's going on in here. All right, we'll hit delete again because we don't need that wall. And again, I'm just going to stretch this up. We just want to make sure this is correct. So like the bottom of these things here, we can just make sure that does this line follow the bottom of those things? And yeah, it does pretty well. So this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this perspective. Okay, now what do we do now that we have this perspective? Well, we can actually do something really amazing with this, and I'm so glad to have found it. Let's click this guy again and just bring this in a little bit shorter. What we can do is we can paste our whatever's on the clipboard into this. We can paste whatever's in our clipboard into this scene and move it around dynamically based on these planes, which is very cool. But before we do that, I'm going to figure out where I want my subject to be, and I can build her into my planes in a way that's going to do that. So let's go ahead and figure out where we want our subject to be. I think we want her to be right on our dot, right? This is where we pretty much said, yeah, let's have her be on that dot. Now I'm going to figure out where this dot is. This floor plane might not even need it. I was correcting it a little bit, and it corrected this guy because that's important. Okay, so our dot here on the floor matches up right about there with this line. So if our dot was back there, what I would want to do is bring this line in there to be about there too, because we're going to build our construction planes. Okay, so our dot matches right up about there. And actually, I probably didn't even need to draw what I did before, because this is a lot more accurate. So if I want her in fact, see, this is cool. If I want her in fact to be pretty much, between those, maybe slightly on this side, that dot's not in the right place. It should actually be there. See, this is way more accurate than what I did earlier, which is very cool. So this really does. I mean, it should be accurate in real space, which is great. Okay, I'm going to hit my delete key, and that's going to get rid of that one again. So I've got this guy now, and what I'm going to do is build out a construction plane from this side. So I built the floor. We could build if I wanted to build a back wall, we could do that, and that should be accurate too. Command Z will undo it. I built a ceiling. Now let's build a front wall. And this is going to come across straight like this, which is perfect, and look good here. Now, we are getting a little bit of lean here, and I think mostly, there we go, let's just correct for that as well. I think mostly that's from distortion, but you can correct for all that sort of thing within this vanishing point, which is very cool. And you can see it changed my back wall just a little bit. So every little thing you can do to make sure you have all your lines looking how you want them to be. All right, and that might be a little bit too far back, so I'm gonna hit delete on that again. We'll just stretch it back out. My distortion should still be built into that. Okay, command, and now we're ready to rock. There we go. Okay, so what do we do now? Well, we're gonna click out here, and I'm gonna hit Command V. So Command C copied our image, and then now Command V is going to paste it into this. Okay, so we've pasted it into our image, and right now it's just floating up there like anything else in Photoshop, but we're gonna change that in just a little bit. So I'm gonna hit T to transform, and when you hit T, it brings up your transform controls. Let's just zoom out a little bit, so you can see. There we go. And I'm gonna hold down Shift, just the same as transforming in anything else. Hold down Shift, and it's just gonna make it a bit smaller. I'm gonna make this really small because it tends to load into these planes very large, and I'm not sure why. Okay, so we're gonna click there, and now I'm gonna bring it in to my plane. And literally, you just click and drag it into your plane, which is awesome. Now, remember earlier we said that door is a blessing. See, I can bring her over here, and she says, hey, I'm over here. All right, we said earlier this door is a blessing. And the reason is because it is. It allows us to size our subject, because people walk through doors, right? So I know probably about how big that door is supposed to be in relation to this person. So I'm going to make her even smaller. Let's hold down the Shift key and drag that a little bit smaller. There we go. And I'm going to put her in the door. There we go. And this is a tall door. This is one of those super big oversized doors, but I'm just going to say she's a really tall model because she looks tall. And again, we want to place her feet, kind of like the entrance of the door. That looks good. And then, maybe say that she's about that tall. She's a pretty tall model. Okay, so that's how big she is in that door. And remember we talked about going away from the camera and things like that, how it makes people shorter and shorter and shorter and all that stuff. Well, now that we sized her to this door, I can move her around these construction planes at will, and it's going to size her correctly to wherever I move her. And this is where it all comes together and becomes incredibly cool. So you know, like put her right there, and now she's the right size for that. Not only that, but it will also shrink her in scale. You can see it's not, you know, it's not just making it smaller, it's actually changing the perspective of this. So if you had like a picture frame and you wanted to put it on the wall, you just do this and you can put it on the wall. So she's still, you know, she's the right size there. And now we can bring her around to this other construction plane, which is, you know, right around the corner. So to do this, you want to just click on it and then drag it to the left, and she'll cross the corner there. There we go. So just go back and forth with this, and now she's on this construction plane that's close to the camera. So you can see on the wall there, and now she's on the close to the camera. And I'm going to click on this and just kind of move it around. And sometimes you got to click on it a few times to it's like does weird stuff, especially if you click in a place that has both construction planes visible. But if I click like up here, it should let me control her just on this one now. All right. So I should be able to control her just on this construction plane, and we should be good to go. If I bring her back over there, she's back there. Okay, so bringing her here, and now we're just going to place her about where we want her to be. And right there looks pretty good. So she is placed where our dot is, and she has been dynamically resized from this actual room, from something we measured her against, to be the exact correct size right here, which is awesome. Not only that, guys, but she has also been changed in perspective. You can see she's leaning to the right a little bit, right? The whole thing is she's been pushed back a little bit. So the perspective of the photo that she is a part of has also changed to fit the perspective of this room. This is just the coolest thing in the world. So again, we'll just go back over here on the door just to show you guys, like, yep, this actually does work. See, she's way smaller there. Brought her back over here, and click there. And now we're going to stick her here on the floor. And, you know, this is not letting me go back and front to back in space. This is just a left and the right movement, because that's the plane that I built her on. So we'll stick her right about there. Perfect. And this is where she should be. So now that she's right there, this is the exact right place for her to be. She's the right size. She is the right perspective, and she's good to go, which is very, very, very cool. So I'm going to hit OK. And there we have it. It placed her on this layer in the exact right size. So there's no more guessing, right? We know this is exactly in, like, from here, this would be side lighting her, and she's exactly the right size, which is, I just, you know, I figured this out a few hours ago, and I'm very excited about it. So I hope you guys are too, because it should make doing this a lot easier for you if you ever have to do it again, because it's very hard to do this. You know, imagine if you just brought someone in like this and you had to like figure out exactly how tall they were supposed to be. Not incredibly easy. So if you want to use this image, you may. If you want to use this, you totally may. I'm going to actually just bring my own in. The reason, you know, we made a copy and everything like that is I wanted her to be on this layer, but I'm going to use my own layer with a layer mask and everything like that, and I'm just going to resize this so it's about the same. So this is totally cool. All right, let's just lower the opacity here. All right, and I'm going to hit Command T, and we're just going to shrink this in until it's about the same size, or exactly the same size, rather. Okay, and hold down the Shift key. It got huge on me. There we go, and I'm trying to match it up. And you can see she got squished a little bit in the version that we just made. She got kind of like pushed back. So you can do that as well. If you hold down the Command key, you can click any of these corners, or you can click this guy right here, and this is just going to give you a little bit of, you know, skewing going on there. And it squished her in a little bit like this as well, and I don't know, I don't want to do that as much, to be honest. Like, maybe just a little bit, but not as much as it did it according to this, however it figures it out. Because I just don't want her to look squished, basically. But she is about the right size. I mean, height-wise, she's good, and floor placement is good there too. She could be a tiny bit bigger. If you guys do want to just go with whatever the perspective spits out, then totally use that. That's totally cool. All right, we're gonna hit enter, and there we go. Let's go ahead and bring this back to 100% opacity, and we'll see. I don't think necessarily that we needed that shift in perspective, but maybe we do. Maybe this doesn't look right, and maybe this looks better, but I don't think so. I like the one that's not as skewed a little bit better. It might not be technically as correct, but I think I like this a little bit better. But the only important thing that we got out of all that,